Coming to you live from our respective offices in our own respective cities on the far ends of the Indiana border.
That's true.
Because no one asked us. He's Craig. I'm Logan. Tuesday afternoon, going to you live here, 5:30 Eastern time, 4:30 Central. Plenty of things to talk about Illinois basketball this week, particularly yesterday. We will get into all of that here soon. But we're here. We're excited to chat. As I said, he is Craig. I am Logan. This is No One Asked Us. If you're new, welcome. If you're back from a previous visit, thanks for coming back. Thanks for returning. As always, get in the chat, get in the comments section. Let us know what you're thinking. Give us your thoughts on the different topics we're going to discuss today. The Illinois basketball portal situation. We'll talk some Masters golf. We'll talk Major League Baseball. And we'll get into a fun top 5 later on. But yeah, get in the chat, get in the comments. Let us know what's going on. Give us a like, share, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button to be greatly appreciated. We're getting, I would love to get to 500. We're
halfway to your mullet.
Halfway to the mullet. Sure, if that's where we're still going. Halfway to the mullet. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, all of those things. I don't even know where else to go. Craig, hello, first off. How are you? Before we get into specifics, how are you doing? Just checking in after your weekend, your Easter weekend. Happy belated Easter to those that celebrate. I don't know what you were doing for the weekend, but I was spending some time with family.
On the couch watching the Masters by myself.
Watching the Masters, yes. Did you travel over the weekend or were you at home?
No, I stayed here. Christy had to work, so we stayed here. We traveled a couple weeks ago for the shower with my family, and this weekend we're traveling for the shower with her family. So,
gotcha.
Stayed home. Christy was at work. I was with the 2 pups on the couch for Easter.
So, how are you doing? You recovered from your weekend? Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. That's good.
It's been something here, but we're good.
Yeah.
At this household.
Yeah. Well, for those that aren't aware, Craig does live in Louisville, Kentucky, where some stuff happened yesterday, and I know you were particularly close, geographically speaking, to some of the events yesterday. So, what's going on? How are you? How's family? How's morale in Louisville?
I think it's fine. They legitimately 20 minutes ago released body cam footage from the 2 officers that were shot. The one that was shot in the head is still in the ICU, but the body cam was him and his partner. And I don't think they could have done a better job. The police did about as good as they could. Their boss just said during the press conference it wasn't perfect, but they did their best, and their best was good enough to end the threat. It's been a wide range of emotions the last 36 hours. I put it on social media. This city it didn't take long for me to fall in love with this city. I'll say that. This isn't a place that either of us had ever imagined living, but I wasn't down here 3 months and I fell in love last fall. It's like the perfect combination for us because I'm from small town, 3,000 people. Christy's from Chicago, 3 million people. So here's a good mix of where you have the city feel when you get down by the river and downtown. But where we live, it's very much an Oakwood or a Pinckneyville. It's like 2-story houses, like very, rural and small town feel. So we get the best of both. So I fell in love with it. And I posted it last night. I was like, this is home. And something like this has never hit home before until yesterday. So this one has hit harder than the others, obviously, because it is the place I live. But also, and I don't want to make this about me, but my commute takes me 3 blocks from where that happened. I take the interstate 65, you cross the bridge. So I take 65 to go south to go over the other bridge, the no toll bridge, to try and save me $2.50. So I get off the exit, and Louisville Slugger Stadium is right there. Like the interstate almost goes over the right field corner of Louisville Slugger Stadium, and the bank was right across the street from Slugger Stadium. So I take the exit right after Slugger Stadium, and it's 3 or 4 blocks right there. The shooting happened at 8:40. I'm taking that exit at 8:50. I had 3 cop cars with their lights on. Like, I had to pull over to let them go, and then I got to the stoplight, and there were 2 more that went right in front of me at the stoplight. Never in my wildest imagination would I have thought that. My thought goes to, maybe a wreck or something happened along those lines. So, I'm keeping an eye on what's going on, and I didn't know where they were going, and then I make one more turn, and I'm getting ready to go over the bridge, and then I see the lights over by the stadium, and at that point I'm crossing the bridge, and I had the thought, I was like, I almost text Christy, like, hey, there's something going on at Louisville Slugger Stadium. I saw a bunch of cop cars by Slugger Stadium. I didn't think anything of it, and then as soon as I walk into work, I saw what happened. So, I mean, just for it to be that close, and for me to be 3 or 4 blocks away from it, 5 minutes after the incident ended, it was a rough day yesterday. I was glued to the computer watching the coverage, as details came out about it. It's just, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it too long, because I don't want to get political on this, but it's like, when is enough? Like, a lot of the details came out today was like, he purchased the gun legally a week ago, and yeah, I don't know. It's been from one end of the spectrum to the other. When Christy got called in for it, obviously yesterday was her day off. She got called in for it to go help with the coverage. She got home. I was already at work, so I hadn't seen her since it happened. Gave her a big hug, like, talked about what happened all night last night. It's just like, man, when is enough? That's kind of what it boils down to, because it seems like every week something's happening, and now this one's like right down the street from us. It sucks.
Yeah, that's tough. Naturally, you guys were the first people I thought about when I saw what was happening. So, I text you pretty much as soon as I was aware of what was happening, and so I was glad to know that you guys were safe and everything was okay with you guys. But yeah, that's tough. I agree with you. We don't need to get into the political side of this, as you said, but
right.
I mean, I think we share similar viewpoints on this, and it is what it is. But it's unfortunate, and that's unfortunately something that's happening far too often. So thinking about everybody that was affected there, thinking about those that necessarily weren't affected, but still, having to go through some of these things like you guys. So thinking about you, and
thank you for reaching out. A couple others did reach out as well. Some of them I know do watch this, so or listen to this. So thank you for reaching out. I know I'm pretty active on social media, so I'm assuming that when people saw I was still posting and retweeting, and they're like, okay, they're okay.
Right. Well, that was my first thought. I knew Christy was tweeting, so I assumed she was fine. But I hadn't seen much from you, so I wanted to, make sure. So
and that, I mean, we'll get into this too, but since we're talking about it, like, we had all the Illinois news yesterday, and stuff was happening, and I'm like, I'm just not in a place to. Right. Like, I know I texted you back, and I texted all the buddies back that were checking in on me. But, I have a bunch of chats going on about Cardinals and about Illini, and like, they're popping off because of what's going on. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't have it today.
Yeah. No, I get it.
And you even text me, you're like, should we do a show today instead? And we ended up, I glossed over, we didn't even address it. But I was in no mood to do anything yesterday.
That's the reason why I asked, because I figured that on day when news like that happens, when Illinois basketball news like that happens, on a show yesterday, but with everything that was going on there, I knew that you probably weren't going to be in the right headspace. And I was, I thought maybe today you wouldn't even want to do a show. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we were able to do this.
Let's go.
let's get into this
Sad
thing.
way
We're
to
already
start the
12
show, but
12
let's
minutes
start
into
it,
the
yeah.
show. We haven't even mentioned the name Marcus Domask. Craig, worlds are colliding.
Yeah, no kidding.
Colliding in Champaign. Marcus Domask is one of two men's basketball commits that Brad Underwood landed yesterday. Justin Harmon's the other one. We will certainly talk about Harmon too, but I think the big story here is Marcus Domask. If any of you are unaware of Craig and I's background, Craig and I both went to Southern Illinois University. Craig is from Southern Illinois. We both follow this basketball team still. He follows it much closer than I do. But Marcus Domask is a name that we are very familiar with. Player we have watched play for the last 4 years off and on. And he announced just a couple weeks ago that he was entering the transfer portal. I think you, I, and most everybody else thought he had Wisconsin Badger written right over him.
I even tweeted at Barstool Big Cat to enjoy him.
You did. You did tweet at Big Cat that this was a Badger commit. And I don't know how far those conversations went. I don't know who all was involved. The only other school that I really heard involved in this was Notre Dame. But Domask,
if Wisconsin didn't get involved at all, that's a huge mistake on their end. But yeah, we don't know.
I have no idea what's going on with Wisconsin. I didn't try to read into the boards, but I did see some comment indicating that they have a lot of pieces already. Maybe they haven't had a lot of people leave. I don't know what their roster construction looks like. Maybe there wasn't a great spot for him. Regardless, Marcus Domask, who is, I don't think either of us saw this coming. I can say that. I didn't see this coming. No. But word kind of got out middle last week that Domask was going to visit Champaign for the weekend. And he did. He was there Friday and Saturday, some combination of the weekend. And by Monday afternoon, he was already committing to the Illini. So didn't need to visit anywhere else. He knew exactly where he wanted to go. Brad and company said the right things, told him the right things, and he's an Illini. So former Southern Illinois Salukis. I know a lot of Southern fans are unhappy by this situation. I can't blame them.
Should we get Tyler Dixon on here just to give us more of a Skip and Shannon type dynamic?
Send him the link. Have Dixon hop into this. We probably should have. We probably should have, but maybe that's a conversation for another day. But for right now, we'll get to Justin Harmon after this.
Yes.
But just general thoughts on the addition of Marcus Domask to the Illinois men's basketball team for next season.
So first of all, men's basketball literally 1 minute ago tweeted signed. So this is a done deal, not just a verbal commit. At 5:45, so 3 minutes ago, Domask has signed. So he is an Illini. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I didn't think this would be a guy that they would be in on. I fully expected Wisconsin. So to your tweet yesterday that I did see, the fact that Illinois basically stole this dude from Wisconsin should make it almost worth it. Now, he does need to play well. If he goes out and averages 5 turnovers and goes 1 for 8 from the field, then maybe not be worth it. But that is an added bonus to this. I mean, he's a career 1,600-point scorer. He scored 1,615 points in 4 years at SIU, and he only scored 163 his sophomore year because he was hurt. He only played in 10 games his sophomore year. So he could have been a 2,000-point scorer at SIU. So what this does is, no, this isn't the Caleb Love. This isn't the Khalil Ware. This is a guy who, and I think I texted this to you, is consistency and experience. You know what you're going to get, and he's played 4 years of college basketball. He started 106. He started 105 of his 106 games. He started for SIU since he was a freshman. Now, that is the Valley. That's not the Big Ten. But that's 106 college basketball games that weren't previously on the Illinois roster. Yeah. That's what this dude is. Now, is he capable of averaging 12 and 4 for Illinois? 12, 4, and 2? Totally. The dude's a baller. The dude's good. I mean, as Logan said in the intro, I probably watch more SIU than you. You keep up with them, but I watch
Yeah.
90% of the games. I don't know if you're the same, but I get ESPN Plus through the bundle, so I pay the whole thing. But SIU football and basketball is the main reason why I get ESPN Plus, is because I try and watch every single game. He's a smart basketball player. And what have we said the last 2 seasons about Illinois basketball? What have I say? They go stupid.
About Illinois basketball, they're stupid. Yeah.
Their basketball IQ is the worst in the high major. So this is an addition that I see Jay's question in here. Again, thanks, Jay. Thanks for watching. Love your little avatar. So keep it up. Jay asks, so are these 2 guys starters or bench players? I guess it matters who stays or leaves. Still need a lot more, in my opinion. Totally agree. These are bench pieces. Could Domask start?
I think Domask will start.
I think Domask. I don't know that he will if Shannon and Coleman come back, but if they don't come back, he is a starter. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does, even if those 2 do come back. Domask is a very capable Big Ten starter, but I don't think that's their plan with him right now. Their plan was, Brad's plan and the staff was to get these 2 guys in so we can kind of have our foundation. This is the base that we're going to need. And now go shoot for the stars and get their high-quality point guard or their shooter or their big or whatever else they need. This is the base of the additions, the foundation. Now you go swing for the fences. And I love it. I think it's – I didn't like it at first. When I saw Domask was visiting, I was like, where does he fit in this? But he fits because – he can play the 2 through the 4. He can play with any combination of what the roster currently constructed it as. That's where he fits, in my opinion.
Marcus Domask is arguably one of the most decorated players Southern Illinois basketball has had in 2 decades. With that being said, he's never played in a tournament game.
Never played tournament.
Marcus Domask wants to go to the tournament. He has 2 things in mind. This is different than a Terrence Shannon and a Matthew Meyer transfer. This is different than some of these other transfers you're going to see. This is a player that's coming up a level because he wants to prove he can play, and he wants to play in the tournament. Those are just 2 things he hasn't been able to do at Southern. He played at Southern for 4 years, had a great 4 years there, but unfortunately they weren't able to ever get to the tournament. He is now coming to a program that it is expected that you play in the tournament every year, and and he wants to improve his stock as a future professional player. I don't know that he's an NBA player, but he will have a basketball career professionally overseas after he's done. And this is coming to Illinois will help him do that because he's going to be able to play a different role than he did at Southern. At Southern, he was the go-to guy. He was the best player on the court for 4 seasons. At Southern or in Champaign, that is not going to be the case. I do believe he will start some basketball games. I don't know if he will be a starter at the beginning of the season. I don't know how the roster will shake out. There's still a lot of questions to be answered about the roster structure, about this team. But Marcus Domask is more than capable of being a starter on a good enough Big Ten team. If he is being relied upon to be your best player, one of your best 2 or 3 players, that's where you have a problem. But I do not believe that'll be the case. I do believe that Brad Underwood and company is building something greater than that. So whether Marcus Domask is the 5th or 6th or 7th option on this team, I think they'll be okay. I like the addition. I agree with you with what you said. I don't know that it made a ton of sense to me at the time, but Brad is clearly building a roster to improve on the things that they were bad with last year. They were a terrible shooting team. They were terrible. They weren't great at the free throw line. They were terrible in the assist column. These are all things that Marcus Domask is going to help you out with. He's not going to be the best spot-up shooter, but he also wasn't really that at Southern. So he's going to play a different role. Maybe he becomes a really good spot-up shooter if that's what he's asked to do. I think he'll be a great fit. There's still a lot of questions, as I said, about what the rest of this roster is going to look like and who he's going to be sharing the court with. But I really do like the addition of Marcus Domask. The question
Domask
here from Wilson
is a 35.9% 3-point shooter, 45.3% career from the field. But what I
Yep.
like most is 85% free throw shooter.
Yep. The question there is comparing Domask and Goody. Domask has a few inches on Luke Goody. I know that.
Does he?
How tall is Luke Goody?
I thought he was 6'6". That's what Domask is.
Is he? I was thinking he was listed a little shorter than that. Okay, I guess they list him as 6'6", 6'7", whatever. Okay, so he's not. That's not. Never mind then. I mean, I think they're similar players. Domask has just been able to do a little bit more in his time at a smaller school. So I don't know. That's a great question.
Also,
and I
don't
think that's a
know
question
how.
right.
I don't know how. I don't want to say good is the right word. Defensively, I'm keeping an eye on how Domask keeps up defensively
Right.
in the Big Ten
Yes.
compared to the
I
Missouri
agree.
Valley.
I agree. If you look at it in the way of,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go.
Domask went 55 of 155 from 3 last year. For comparison, Terrence Shannon went 50 of 156. So 3-point numbers comparatively what Terrence did last year, and we all thought Terrence was a pretty bad 3-point shooter. So it's not like you're getting a guaranteed Alfonso Plummer bucket here.
No.
But I think he's more of a pure shooter. He's a mid-range guy. I mean, he was kind of the Jalen Pickett of the Missouri Valley. He played booty ball. He would get a mismatch and he would be down there in the paint trying to, bump him into the paint a little bit, and then he'd turn around and he had like a baseline fadeaway that he hit a lot. I think that's more of his game than 3 or getting to the basket, or he's not a dribble drive guy. He's just makes a smart play and can pull up and hit a jumper from anywhere inside the arc.
And the other thing everybody was saying yesterday after this addition was made is that he's essentially taken RJ's spot, which I think is true. I think you're getting somebody that's more experienced than RJ. I think he somewhere fits in the middle between RJ's minutes and Matt Meyer's minutes. I think that's what he's going to eat into. I'm not saying he's replacing Matt Meyer. He's not going to be this team's second best scorer, hopefully. But I think he's kind of in between those two. I think he is. I think we'll see more from him than we saw from RJ in RJ's 2 years. RJ is more athletically gifted. RJ is going to be able to finish at the rim better than Marcus Domask is. But I do think that from a pure basketball perspective, Marcus Domask is somewhere between what you saw from Matt Meyer, a more controlled Matt Meyer, and a better passer of Matt Meyer, and RJ Melendez.
I think
in terms of what role he fits on this team and plays on this team,
RJ's ceiling is much higher than Marcus Domask's.
Correct.
But Marcus Domask's floor is much higher.
Correct.
Than RJ Melendez's floor. Yes. So like Domask is probably living like from here to here. RJ was like the whole screen from here to here.
And I think that's a nice little transition because I think both of these additions, both Domask and Harmon, are really raising the floor on this team. I don't think either of these additions are going to raise the ceiling, as you just alluded to, but they're certainly going to raise the floor. So let's talk about the other addition that came last night, the second of 2 on the day after Domask announced that he was going to commit in the early afternoon. Justin Harmon announced last night that he's coming to Illinois. Justin Harmon is originally from Chicago, went to play JUCO for 2 years, then went to Utah State. I don't remember. Utah Valley. Is Utah Valley State a thing?
I don't think so.
Okay. Utah Valley. He had a really nice last couple years with out there with them. They played in the NIT this year, averaged like 20-some points at the NIT. He's a scorer. I mean, he's a guy that can get to the basket. I can't admittedly say I've ever seen him play. Only a few clips that I've seen the last couple days. But this is the addition that I think has me scratching my head a little bit. I don't hate it, and I think it can certainly work. But I don't know specifically how Justin Harmon fits onto this team right now. I can see how Marcus Domask will fit more than I can see how Harmon will fit. We don't know a lot about him. All we've seen is, play out in that conference out west. Average whatever, 15, 16 points a game, something like that, I think. He can play.
14 points a game, 3.8 rebounds, 2.9 assists.
If he's coming to Illinois just to be able to play back in his home state and play a role and get to the tournament, I think he'll be great. As for what role he plays, I don't think you're in a good situation if you're counting on him to be in your starting lineup. That would be my caveat. I think you can make a case for Marcus Domask to be in the starting lineup on this. To circle back to Jay's question, you can make the case for Marcus Domask to be a starter on this team, and that be a good team. I think if Justin Harmon is in your starting lineup, I think there are going to be some issues, greater issues at hand. Would be my guess.
Yeah, I think they're both, like I said,
player.
They're both bench pieces. If they turn into anything more than that, the rest of this offseason, something went wrong. And like I said, Domask has signed. Illinois has the release. So here's what Brad had to say about them, because he can talk about them now. On Domask first, this is Brad Underwood. Marcus has the number one quality that I love in a player: versatility. He can play anywhere on the court, shoots threes with a great range, is an elite passer, can play in ball screens, and is effective in the post based on matchups. Marcus has been at the top of everyone's scouting report in the Valley his entire career, but still scored at a high level throughout that time. He fits what we've been looking for in terms of a proven veteran player with versatility. A lot of what we just discussed right there. And I believe it was, Derek Piper. I'm almost positive it was Piper on 24/7 Illini Inquirer said that Underwood got Thomas Walkup vibes from Marcus Domask, which we all know how much Brad Underwood loves Thomas Walkup. On Justin Harmon, Underwood said, Justin is the true definition of a combo guard. He scores at all three levels and can defend multiple positions. He was an integral piece of a very good Utah Valley team this year that won its league and made it to the semifinals of the NIT. He had a great postseason, playing his best basketball in the biggest moments. Justin has continued to improve and get better each and every year throughout his career. He's a tough, hard-nosed competitor who takes on a challenge, including guarding the other team's best player. So that's what Brad thinks of them. That screams to me experience, toughness, guys to fill holes here. We've said it, we both said it 2 minutes ago. If these are the guys of this offseason, then Illinois is in trouble next year. So I wouldn't be worried yet, because these are great foundational pieces. These are great pickups. Two guys that average 14 and 16 points a game at mid-major. Fantastic to have as part of this roster, but it's not over. There's more to come. No. We're seeing more and more about a certain point guard, and more smoke billowing from State Farm Center about a certain point guard that is not in the portal yet. And there are a ton of bigs entering the portal. Hunter Dickinson's still out there. That's not happening. The Syracuse big entered the portal today that I loved. He was the best player on Syracuse's team when they played in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. What's his name? Jesse Edwards. So There's more to come. These are not the stars of the offseason, but they're fantastic foundation and bench pieces.
Yeah.
Potentially starting pieces.
I agree. As of right now, Domask and Harmon, Luke Goody is expected to be back. Sincere Harris says he's coming back. Ty Rogers, we haven't heard anything. We're assuming he's back. And Dane just said he's back to go with the three freshmen, Nico Moretti, who was on the team last year, Hansberry and Gibbs Lowhorn, who we are expected to still see in Champaign. But, I mean, who knows in the world of the transfer portal and everything else.
They're not going anywhere.
Well, you know what? I've seen crazier things. But, yes, I would expect them to be there too. I look at this roster, and I think there's obviously still work to do. There are several guys who I would classify as a wing. Still no point guard. But I hope that's in the wings. As you, there seems to still be a mystery point guard out there that has not entered the portal that Illinois fans
it's not much of a mystery if you follow one certain Twitter account.
Yes. There seems to be one favorite, and I think I keep seeing two names. I'm sure you know what two names I'm referring to. One of them has not announced anything. The other one, I believe, has entered the NBA draft.
Yes.
But could potentially find out he's not going to get drafted and decide to transfer, which I think is still out there as well. Both would be accepted with open arms.
That's where Illinois didn't make their big transfer portal splashes until I believe Shannon was like the end of April and Meyer was the end of May, I think, because Meyer went through the draft process and withdrew his name from the draft. And I don't think they got him until mid to late May because those guys have until like May 16th to pull their name out of the draft. So we might not know the roster until June.
That is correct. But here, that's where we are. We had the two announcements yesterday. We'll see what happens here. We have still not heard a thing from Terrence Shannon. I think everybody's assuming that he's going to test the waters, but who knows? And Coleman Hawkins obviously is still out there as well as somebody that
April
could come
23rd is the deadline to declare.
So we have 12 days before we know any of that stuff. So plenty more to come from portal season. And we will hope to discuss more of it here in a week or so, because I'm sure there will be news 1 week from now, because this stuff doesn't last very long. The only other Illinois, well, there's a couple things. They did add a walk-on from, I believe, was it South Dakota? Is that what it was?
I believe so, yeah.
Keaton Kutcher. They lost some walk-ons. They've added a walk-on.
I hope his brother
so
comes to the games. That'd be fun.
Ashton? His brother Ashton?
Yeah.
I do believe this guy's dad played for Brad, I think is the connection. Played for Brad at Western. But yeah, in addition to the squad as well as a walk-on.
Because Connor Servant and Paxton Warden both entered the transfer portal. So the two walk-ons entered the portal, so they're adding two more.
A walk-on. Jaden Epps, the artist formerly known as, going to Georgetown. Big shock. Not shock?
No, yes. That was my sarcastic shocked face.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm terrible at reading sarcasm. Jaden Epps, to the surprise of no one, is headed to Georgetown. Good for him. Hope he is able to do what he wants to do there. As you mentioned, none of the other Illinois transfer guys have gone anywhere yet. Melendez is. I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything on. No, I haven't heard any schools.
Which I think is interesting. Let's see. Indiana's building a team. That's a thing that happened last night.
Yeah.
Khalil Ware from Oregon. Good for them.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out if anybody has reported who reached out to RJ.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything about RJ. But yeah, Indiana adds a post player to replace Trace Jackson Davis. He's going to be a problem in the post. Former 5-star recruit. Didn't do a ton in his first year. Was it only 1 year at Oregon?
Yeah.
But he's certainly a talent there that their Indiana fans are going to be excited to have. You mentioned Hunter Dickinson's still out there. Caleb Love committed to Michigan. That was a big one. Any other big names that have Big Ten implications? Penn State got what's his face?
Baldwin.
Yep, Ace Baldwin's going there was he at VCU?
Following his coach.
Yep.
Let's see. Iowa
Jamison
got
Battle.
Ben Cricky.
Yep, Jamison Battle went to Ohio State. I don't know when these things have happened. Again, most people that are watching
these are all within the last week. No, these are all within the last week. Michigan State got Tyson Walker and Malik Hall back.
Correct. Yes.
Which is huge. I'm just trying to go down the standings here. Purdue got Lance Jones.
Yes, other Salukis.
The other Salukis.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other.
That's the big issue in Carbondale is that SIU had two Big Ten players and didn't make any sort of postseason noise with them. which I haven't vocalized or typed out yet, but it takes more than 2 players to make a postseason run.
Yeah. Well,
And
the other thing too,
who was the third? They
the
didn't
other
really
thing
have
too
it.
is
So
that of the five or six first team All Valley players, at least 3 of them now have transferred on to Power
Big Ten.
5 schools, or at least Big
Yeah.
Ten. So yeah, I mean, that's just the nature of what it is. It's unfortunate
Yep.
for Southern that they weren't able to do anything with those 2 players, but yeah, I agree. It takes more than just the 2 of them.
I mean, I can't think of
Anything
anything
else?
else off the top of my head. No.
Right,
We
let's
do
move on.
have
We've talked.
breaking news.
Oh,
From Pete Thamel. The Big Ten is expected to hire former MLB and CBS Sports executive Tony
La Russa.
I don't know how to. No. Petitti. Petitti as the league's next commissioner.
Huh.
Replacing Kevin Warren.
Interesting.
So, MLB and
Okay.
CBS Sports exec Tony Petitti as the next Big Ten commissioner, according to Pete Thamel.
Let's get Tony on the
Don't
pod.
know anything about him.
Producer, anonymous producer, work on that. Let's get Tony on the pod to talk about the future of the Big Ten. That's exciting. Craig, breaking news on the show. Actually, Pete Thamel broke the news, and Craig's just telling the people.
Pete Thamel broke.
All right, let's move on. Craig, you watched some golf this weekend, did you?
I watched a lot of golf this weekend.
It was an interesting
when it wasn't raining.
It was an interesting weekend in Augusta. I think everything that happened away from the golf was more exciting probably than the golf itself, but it was an interesting weekend in Augusta.
What happened away from the golf?
I mean, a tree fell on the course.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, the weather and
stopped
the rain,
everything.
Yeah. I thought like something happened in Augusta. What did I miss?
One of the villains was leading for the first, I don't know how many days of this.
That's something I was going to talk about. The whole Live PGA thing just wasn't a storyline. They just weren't. No, it wasn't. It really wasn't a thing.
Jim Nance threw in a comment. I don't know if that was intentional or not. I'm assuming it was.
Totally. So I don't know if it's just because, we're a year removed from Live being a thing and it's still a thing and I'm just kind of over it, or I don't know, but I'm like, I don't hate them as much as I did when it first formed. I hate the idea of it, the whole 2 separate tours. But like from what I hear, I don't want to say Brooks regrets it, but I think if he could get out of his contract, he would. Because if you noticed, Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson, Patrick Reed, a bunch of the guys were wearing their Live team uniforms with their Live team logo on it. Brooksy was just wearing Nike stuff. Like he wasn't out there like showing, I'm on Live tour, I'm a Live guy. He wasn't doing any of that. And some of the comments he made was also like, kind of led people to believe that if he would have been healthy, he wouldn't have made that decision. Like he looked at Live as, my knee's all messed up. My back's hurt. Like I got this going on and this going on. If they're going to pay me $150 million to play less, yeah, I'm going to take it, because what if I get hurt again? He took it as like an insurance plan, to whereas now he's healthy, obviously finished 2nd or 3rd at the Masters. He would go back because he likes the competition on the PGA Tour better. He wanted some insurance there. So, always liked Brooks before that. I feel like he's a little too cocky for me, but I don't hate him as much as I did when he left for Live. Now, if Phil would have won, I would have had issues. Phil has kind of been the ringleader of all this. Patrick Reed's just a douche, so no one wants to see him win. He's the worst scum golfer ever. But for Liv to have 3 guys on the top of the leaderboard, first page of the leaderboard, says a lot. You can make all the 54 hole jokes you want about Brooksy. He did kind of fall apart after 54 holes, because that's what the live events are. But man, I don't know how much you watch, but Jon Rahm is just a beast. He's so good. I saw like a Golf Digest stat. He's won more tournaments than he's missed the cut in. He's won 20 tournaments in his PGA Tour career. He's only missed the cut 14 times. He's like 28 years old. He is on top for the next 10 years. It's unbelievable the things he does on a golf course. He double bogeyed the first hole and went on to win the dang thing by 4 shots. Unbelievable.
I think if we were to list all of the names that we have said on this show by the amount of times we've mentioned the name, it would be a bunch of Illinois players and then Caitlin Young and then Jon Rahm. I feel like we've talked about this guy quite often. Yeah, he's good. He's good. He kind of came from, I don't know where he was entering that third day. He wasn't really that high on the leaderboard. But or maybe he was in second. I don't remember.
Rahm, he was in the final group. Yeah, last 2 days.
Yeah, no, he played well. He played well. What else was I going to say about it? I don't remember.
Yeah, I feel like this is like, because I don't want to ramble about this, but like if you have questions, I will answer the golf questions. But I don't want to just like
this was my question. Going back to the live thing. So I obviously don't follow it nearly close enough, and nearly as close as you. But do people care? Do people care about the live shit now? Sorry.
Ding.
Like,
got to put the explicit
ding,
filter on now.
Ding. Do people care? I mean, they've already thrown him on the CW, so clearly nobody's going to watch it. Do people care?
The issue is, okay, so I don't know how to compare this. I guess we'll do like an NBA comparison. The issue is, imagine if not the LeBrons or like, I'm trying to think here. Like, imagine if Chris Paul, who's kind of on the back end of his career, is like the Phil Mickelson, and he goes and he starts playing with this other league that pays him 10 times his amount of money. They play 45 games instead of 82 games. And then he starts bringing like Jaylen Brown and like
Yeah, I mean, I get
Zach
it.
LaVine. That's the issue, is that these players split off. So now every week, minus the 4 majors, the golf isn't as enjoyable. Right. Because you have Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson, Cam Smith, who are 4 of probably the top 20 golfers in the world. Phil's probably not there consistently, but as we saw this week, he can be. 4 of the top 20 golfers in the world that you're taking away from this week's the RBC Heritage, the normal PGA Tour event. You're taking 4 of the top 20 golfers away from that field, which waters down that pool. And they have a week off just to chill. And then in 2 weeks, they're going to go play a 54-hole tournament with a shotgun start that pays them $5 million for playing 18 less holes against competition that's less than half as good. You know, it's just the quality of the golf for the fans is going down, and you're not seeing Brooks play against Jon Rahm except for 4 times a year. You're not seeing these great fields, which is my issue, is that I want to see the 123 or 136 best golfers every week on the same tour playing against each other. I don't want to see these 2 split tours where they're both watered down because it's half the field. You know, that's the issue. And the other issue is who's funding it. You know, it's the blood money from the Saudis that can just $1 million is like a penny to them. Like they don't care. So where they're getting the money from is the issue. Obviously, an Illini guy, Thomas Peters, is now at Live Golf. He did a full hour-long interview with the Foreplay podcast from Barstool that I listened to, and he was brutally honest about it. If you have any interest in the Live situation, he was very honest. He's like, I played 2 years on the PGA Tour. I didn't like it. He's like, I'm this Belgian that didn't really know anybody, so I felt pretty lonely. You know, this new league is offering me X amount of dollars to play less, spend more time with my family. He's got 2 kids now, his girlfriend. You know, I didn't have friends on the PGA Tour where at the end of a round I could go out and have drinks with or have dinner with. So I'm going to go spend more time with my family or the other guys that I like to play golf with. He's like, that's fine. And they asked him about the money. He's like, my money comes from an American company. Like, the people who pay me, it's an American bank sending me the money. So I don't care. So, I mean, I've lightened up to it. Everyone do what you want to do, man. But those are the two biggest issues.
Does it have legs?
Part of me says yes, just because of what I said with the funding, is that the money's not going to go away. So as long as they want to keep doing it, they're going to keep paying it. But it's going to have to start pulling in some more big names pretty soon before people just completely stop caring about it. Because
I guess
they only have
really...
probably 5 or 6 golfers that people really care about. Dustin, Phil, Brooks, Cam Smith. I mean, no one likes Patrick Reed, like I said, so they don't care about him. There's really not a ton of high-profile names. So if they don't start making some moves quick for some other guys, I could see it being like, okay, we're done. We're not wasting our time. So we'll see.
Okay. We'll see.
Good. Our buddy Phil Parker's Paul. I do agree with him here. Love how Brooksy and Rahm are no nonsense and tell it the way it is. It is refreshing. Yes.
Yeah.
I love Jon Rahm. Did you see what he said on the green after 18 about Zach Ertz?
Oh, yes.
I guess he's friends with Zach Ertz. And 10 minutes before his tee off, Zach Ertz texted him, said, that number 1 green looks like a piece of cake. And Rahm 4-butted. It's funny.
Yeah, that was good. No, it was entertaining. I definitely tuned in and watched quite a bit of it over the weekend. But I was also outside enjoying the nice weather. So
27 holes on Sunday was fun to watch because Saturday got postponed.
I did not watch as much on Sunday as I probably normally would just because of the weather, but it was great. All right, let's move on real quick before we get
quickly
too far into this thing. We're already nearing our hour, so I don't want to go too much longer than that. We're 2 weeks into the Major League Baseball season, and the Cardinals are terrible and imploding. Thank you, Brad Underwood. The Cardinals are imploding internally. They have the second worst record in baseball. They have a terrible pitching staff and a manager that's criticizing his players for not running hard enough. How you feeling? I mean, it's April 11th. We don't need to.
I'm over it.
We don't need to dive into
the season.
Okay, stop it.
I mean, but seriously, I don't know where it improves, because if your starters are giving up 5 runs in the first 3 innings, how many games are you going to win? Even when your offense, batting average wise, is the best offense in baseball. Cardinals have the best batting average in baseball as a team. If you give up 5 or 6 runs in the first 3 or 4 innings, you're out of the game. You're only going to come back once every 6 or 7 games in that situation.
Yeah.
I just don't see an answer. And you can't wait until the deadline to make a move, because at that point you're 15 games behind and you're too late. So if they don't make a move in the next couple of weeks, I know you're getting Wainwright back hopefully pretty soon, but how much is a 45-year-old starting pitcher going to help you? I was texting with Aaron Bennett last night about this. And we're so early in the season, who's going to sell yet? There's only 2 or 3 teams that would be willing to sell you a starting pitcher right now. And it's the Nationals and the A's. And
okay, hold on.
Who are they going to have?
We don't need to be worried about buying and selling yet. It's literally April 11th.
So, I mean, who's going to give you a starting pitcher then?
I don't know.
Someone has to sell. I'm not necessarily.
It's April 11th.
I'm not saying fire sale, tear it down like the Cubs did 2 years ago. Not like that. But say Cardinals approach the Padres and are like, hey, we need a starting pitcher. Are the Padres at this point, when they're 6 weeks into or 2 weeks into the season, 10 games into the season, are they going to be like, yeah, you can have Blake Snell, or yeah, you can have.
So you're looking, you are trying to find something right now.
You have to.
You are trying to find a solution right now.
There has to be an arm out there. You cannot throw a rotation of Miles Michaelis, Steven Matz, Jack Flaherty, Jordan Montgomery's been good, and I can't even think of the 5th. Who's the 5th?
Adam Wainwright.
Jake Woodford. Who's going to go to the bullpen when Adam Wainwright's back? How many games does that starting rotation win?
Not enough
I
for the
mean,
Cardinal fans.
after the comments, and O'Neal, you got to dangle O'Neal out there. You got to dangle him out there and see if anyone needs outfield help and maybe get a starter in return, because he's the only one you might be able to get a decent starting pitcher for. What would you pay for Dylan Carlson right now? A AAA pitcher? Like, not even that. You're not trading a major league arm for Dylan Carlson.
Yeah.
You got to do something.
It's a little too early for most teams, but you're right. Maybe there's somebody out there that would cough it up. The Cardinals 3-7, Cubs 5-4. Cubs won last night. Nico Horner walk off. Good for Nico. As I've said, it is April 11th. I don't think we need to dive too much into it. Seiya Suzuki should be back here in the Cubs lineup soon to give them another bat in the middle of the order. The pitching's looked okay. We'll just kind of see what happens. Anything else from a baseball perspective that you need to touch on?
I mean,
did you want to talk about?
But
well, we'll move on. All right, let's get into top 5.
Talk about what?
Yes, I was going to actually bring up MLB The Show and asked if you had been playing that game, and it's terrible.
I do have it. I've been playing it. It's
trade.
It's not great.
I haven't bought it. I have not even thought about it. I don't plan on buying it. That's that. But speaking of video games,
number one pick?
No. Speaking of video games, I'm sure you didn't make it out to the theater this past weekend, but a certain video game
broke some records.
A certain video game company decided they were going to release a movie for the first time in theaters in like 20 some years after the first one was terrible. And to the surprise of no one, it is doing phenomenally well at the box office. The Super Mario Bros. Movie made over $300 million in its first weekend, which is just crazy. I saw the movie. It was fine. It is great for children.
I was going to say, Logan contributed about $300 of that $300 million to it.
No, I contributed like 9. It is a great movie for children. It has absolutely nothing in it for adults other than the dose of nostalgia you're going to get for 90 minutes, but that is fine. That is not why I'm here to talk about it, but I am using this as a transition to talk about our top 5 today. Top 5 favorite or top 5 best, top 5, I don't know, top 5 sports video games. Top 5 franchises. Sports video games. Yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to draft them again like we did last week, and so we're not going to have we're not going to pick multiple franchises. So like we can't pick if Craig picks Madden 15.
Tipping picks.
I can't pick another Madden game, and neither can he. So as soon as Madden is off the board, it's gone. As soon as MLB The Show is off the board, any year of MLB The Show, it's gone.
So are you picking like specific years in that case?
Yes.
Because I just have the franchises ranked.
It doesn't matter. We can do it however you want. I can wing it. I had certain years on mine, but I can do it that way.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
We'll each do it our own way. I just don't have specific years. So when I make a pick, I'm picking the franchise instead of.
That's fair.
That's
fine. That's fine.
Instead of Super Mario Brothers 2016, I'm just picking the Super Mario Brothers franchise. That's my example.
Just got
because I don't take picks on this show.
Just got an update from my father. Tonight's the Coaches versus Cancer event in Gordyville near Champaign. Brad Underwood's there, has Tom Izzo there. I think Fran's there. I don't remember who else is there. But I just got a text from Tim. Walked in with Tom Izzo. He looked confused as to why he was in the middle of a cornfield. So that's the update from Gordyville. All right. So let's do this.
I always like that. I covered that a couple times. I did live interview with Brad a couple times there. That was cool.
Well, it's a great event, and they're hosting it tonight. My father is there. All right. Top 5 sports video games. Craig, you can go ahead and start. What's your number 1 pick?
NCAA football.
Okay.
Haven't had it in a decade. I believe it's coming back next year. Or is it 2 years now? I got delayed.
It got delayed.
NCAA football. I mean, it's there's a clear 1-2 to me, and this was a clear 1. I still play it. I got Chrissy's old PS3 that College Football Revamped has made a download for, and they keep the rosters and the uniforms updated. I still play it every fall and every summer. It's 10 years old. There was not a flaw in that game. The Dynasty mode is electric. In college, actually, at Creekside, 4 apartments on each level. There was a Pinckneyville apartment, a DuQuoin, a Nashville, and a Chester. And us and the Nashville and Chester guys, there was 9 of us. We each did we had one dynasty together. So I'd be getting texts like in class, like, hey, what time do you get out of class? You need to play your game so we can advance the week. I'm like, okay, dude, you guys got a couple hours. They're like, okay, can we sim your game? No, you can't sim my game. It can't be beat. In my mind, it's the best video game franchise of all time.
That's a great pick. I think this is going to be interesting because I think you have a very obvious one in number 2, and I don't think I'm going to pick it.
Okay.
Because
I might know where you're going to go.
This is tough now because this is not exactly the way that I had prepared, and I'm trying to decide if I want to do this. All right, I will do it. I wasn't going to. I will take Madden. I haven't played a Madden game in 5 years, but the run of Madden games from like 2002 to 12, 13.
Yeah.
I mean, I owned every game. I played every year, just like every other millennial male growing up in the 90s and 2000s. I owned every version of Madden. While it's probably not my favorite, especially now at this point in my life, I can't deny it. It is the top choice here. I will take Madden. If I was going to pick a particular version of Madden, which is how I was originally going to do this, it would have been either 04 or 05. Those were the 2 best years of Madden. Yes, Michael Vick and Ray Lewis. So there you go. I will take Madden.
Yep, that was my 1-2. So the question is, do I go football again here or do I switch? Because there's another football franchise that I think is pretty top tier here. But I think I'm going to switch and go a different sport. And I'm going to go MVP baseball.
Yes.
Not MLB The Show. MVP
that
baseball
is the correct
did they have more than 2? I feel like they only had like 2 really good years. Like 03, 04 or 04, 05?
04, 05 were the 2 good years.
Okay.
Full transparency, MVP baseball 2005 was my number 1 overall pick in the way that I had originally blocked this out. I changed that so that I would have Madden. But yes, MVP baseball 2004 and 2005 I think are 2 of the best sports video games ever. Everybody says 2005, which is fine. The Manny Ramirez cover. I really loved 04 with Pujols on the cover.
Yeah.
The soundtrack to MLB baseball 2004.
All-American Reject, Swing.
Still plays in my head on loop. I played that game so much, and I loved every second of it. So that is a great
There's a song by the Dropkick Murphys, maybe? Tessie, I think is the song.
Tessie is on 05.
Tessie, yeah.
Tessie is on 05.
You can't forget, though, they did a college version of MVP baseball that was awesome. That's very sweet.
Yes, that is on my long list. After EA lost the rights to Major League Baseball, they made a college version of it for like 2 or 3 years. And that game was phenomenal as well. I loved that version too. Yep. Okay. Where do I go from here? I have a sentimental pick. I have 2 sentimental picks and I have a smart pick. And I don't know what I should do. I think I'm going to go with a smart pick. And I'm just going to go with longevity. And I'm going to take NBA 2K. The NBA 2K run. I think NBA 2K 11 with Michael Jordan, with the Jordan Challenge or whatever they did, was a fantastic basketball game. I mean, I loved the NBA Live franchise, and might be tipping picks. One of us might take that, but I loved that franchise as a kid. But the evolution to the 2K franchise, and I mean, it's obviously still going. They're still great games, but there was a run in there in like the mid 2010s where that game was top of the line. So I might regret this choice, but I think it is overall one of the best at this point. So I will take NBA 2K. Go ahead and make me regret
it. I'm not going to, but I am going to go with one. I don't know. Should I not? I don't think I'm going to do that yet. I'll get my NBA in here. I was an NBA Live guy. I liked until Live went away.
Yeah,
I liked NBA Live more than 2K, so I'm going to take NBA Live here.
I agree. I'm with you. That's
obviously
fair.
Now I play 2K because I think Live came back, but it wasn't very good. Good. Now I'm a 2K guy. But growing up, I was an NBA Live. Jason Kidd on the cover, I believe, of one. Yeah. That was awesome. Maybe Vince Carter too. But that was my NBA franchise. So I'm going to go with NBA Live because I think I can get another one of my picks that I want here in the next two. So
that was mine as well. NBA Live was mine growing up. I had before we had we had a Nintendo 64, but before we got our PlayStation, I had a version on the PC that I played, and I had like a controller, and our computer at our house was set up in our kitchen, and I just remember sitting there in our kitchen playing NBA Live on the computer. I think I dropped like 80 some points with Jerry Stackhouse in a game. I'll never forget that. The 2005 version with Carmelo Anthony, when they included the dunk contest.
Yes.
I did that dunk contest for hours and hours and hours.
What was your go-to dunk? Because I had one go-to dunk. It was the double between the legs. You did he did like a figure 8 in the air. It was a 50 every time, and I nailed it every time. Yeah, I'm waiting for someone to do that in real life.
I loved NBA Live. I think 2K at this point has surpassed it in terms of quality, but I agree with you. From a nostalgic standpoint, I was a NBA Live guy for sure. Okay, I'm going to take a sentimental pick here. I don't know where you stand on it. I'm taking Backyard Baseball.
I knew it. It's on my list. But I knew.
I loved Backyard Baseball. Admittedly, in my adult life, I've even found ways to download and play Backyard Baseball on my computer. I loved that game so much. Backyard Baseball 2003, I think, with Mike Piazza was on the cover of that one. The backyard games in general were cool for kids, but the baseball game was so much better, I think, than the others. I loved
Sanchez,
it.
Best video game character of all time, sports video game character.
I agree.
Other than was it Ed Dowd? John Dowd. I said Ed. Yeah, Barry Bonds.
John Dowd and Reggie Stalker was his name on the was it on the show? Was he John Dowd on MVP and he was Reggie Stalker on the show? I think. But anyway, Backyard Baseball is my third pick. All right, you got 2 picks left. I got 2 picks left. What you going with?
Okay. I don't want to take the chance of not getting this, so I think I can get it at 5, but I'm scared you might take it before me. I'm gonna take Tiger Woods PGA Tour.
That's fine. You can have Tiger.
Where you weren't gonna take him? You weren't gonna take this?
I had a few others that I would have taken before it. But that's fine. It's a great game. I didn't play it as much, but we definitely owned a couple versions of it, I believe. I know I definitely played it. It was good. Tiger Woods PGA was
I was just worried. I was worried that you might snag it in front of me. I had 2 on my list, but I would stay up. I would go get it at midnight when it came out, and I would stay up for like 4 days straight playing it and wouldn't stop playing it until the next game, whatever it was, came out.
It's a great pick. Great pick. Okay.
How many more do you have left on your list?
Quite a few. But I have 3 right now that I want. I have 3 that I want, so I'm only going to end up with 2 of them, hopefully. I just got to decide which one I want to take. I will go with NBA Street. NBA
Ooh,
Street Volume 2 in particular.
forgot
Love
about
that
that.
game. So, oh my god, NBA Street
Forgot about
was
that.
fantastic. It had a counterpart for a different sport that we might touch on here in a second. But NBA Street Volume 2, I think, is honestly one of the best video games of that generation,
Yeah,
that console generation ever.
yeah,
The introduction of some of those street ball players, you could unlock them, play with them. Like, it was so much fun. I loved NBA Street Volume 2. I played so much of that
yeah.
game. That's easy for me. I'll go with that.
I'm
You
not.
got one
I
left. I
don't.
got one left.
I'm not taking it, so I'm going to talk about it because you can take it if you want. Was this NFL Street? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
Was there an NFL version? That one I
Yes.
played. I don't know that I played NBA Street, but I played NFL where you could like beat the people up and all
Yep.
that stuff.
Played a
Yeah,
lot of that too.
yeah,
NFL
played that
Street
too.
Volume 2 as well for
Two.
NFL was also a great version. Still, I've played that fairly recently on our PlayStation 2 or something. My brother had it a couple years ago. I remember playing it. I loved that game as well. I always remember I would make myself, and I always had a red like afro, and
Of
I
course you
was
did.
just great. I was excellent. But yeah, NFL Street as well is a great pick. All right, go ahead. What's your last one?
The foosball, FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
The FIFA
That's
franchise
safe.
it's very safe. Yes, it's consistent. It's good every year. I've gotten it more now that I actually watch Premier League and I watch soccer, so I've gotten it a couple times, and it always delivers. It rarely can you go wrong playing FIFA. So I'm gonna take FIFA with my fifth pick.
Yep, that's good. I was debating taking NFL Street as my fifth pick, but I'm going to pivot and take a real, actual sentimental pick. I own this game on Nintendo 64. My brothers and I played it religiously. It was fun that we were able to play with a
I'm
certain
worried that
family
you thought
friend
of
of
one that I
ours,
didn't.
Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball.
Oh yeah, I don't think I ever played
Was
that.
we had that game on N64 and played it so much. I loved that game. Looking back on it, obviously Nintendo 64 wasn't as crisp as a game as some of its later versions, but
Yeah.
that was one that we played a lot. It was fun to play as Darren Fletcher. That was pretty
Oh
cool.
yeah.
And yeah, that was just a fun game. That's a sentimental pick. It probably isn't one of the best, but that's one that we played quite often. So yeah, I think that's it. You have 5. You want to go ahead and recap your 5?
Yeah. NCAA football, MVP baseball, NBA Live, Tiger Woods PGA Tour, and FIFA.
And I took Madden, NBA 2K, Backyard Baseball, NBA Street, and Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball. You got some
Our
honorable
lists are
mentions?
quite different. Our lists
Yes.
are quite different. Yours are
I
pretty,
wondered how
like,
they would be.
a little obscure, and I took like the Blue Bloods.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, you had your top 3 picks are all ones that I definitely would have considered. The bottom 2 I just didn't play as much. I just didn't
Yeah.
play FIFA,
Yeah.
or I definitely played both of them. I just didn't play them nearly as much.
Yeah.
But the 5 I picked are ones that I played all the time.
The only
Honorable
3 on
mentions.
my that we didn't pick. NFL 2K rivaled Madden there for a couple years.
Yes. Yep, I agree.
They
I
were
was
the
going to mention
first
that.
one to kind of do the off the field stuff where you could like have your house and you could buy memorabilia for your house and you could switch the camera view to like in the helmet. I remember like in 2K5 with Terrell Owens, you could switch it to that so you could like see the field and all that. That was really close to being picked for me. And then PGA 2K, they started that a
Oh, yeah.
couple years ago, and it's awesome. You can build courses. Like it just looks obviously more realistic. And because we went without a golf video game for a number of years after the Tiger incident, and EA dropped him. And then the other one that we played religiously, like my junior and senior year of high school, and maybe that first year when I was at community college, my buddy's house, we would spend hours and hours and stay up till 3 a.m. playing the UFC video game.
Oh yeah, that was a good one too. Yep.
It had Brock Lesnar
Yep.
and Anderson Silva, and we would have like tournaments and round robins and just beat the crap out of each other with these
Yep.
UFC fighters. And I just bought the new one a couple months ago, and I played it, and I was like, oh, it brought back so many like memories of sitting in the basement.
That's
It was
awesome. Yeah,
so
that's a good
much
game.
fun.
Yep, that's a good game. So you mentioned in NFL 2K, had we picked like I was originally thinking individual games, I would have
Yeah,
picked NFL 2K5 ahead of any of the Madden games. I think that
yeah,
is the best for
yep.
your money because it was
I
cheap
would agree
too.
with you.
I
Yeah, I
remember
would agree with you.
it was like significantly cheaper than Madden, and it was a better game. That particular version. Now they eventually EA got all the rights or whatever, and Madden lived on and TK died. But I think that as an individual game was better than any Madden game we've ever had. So I would have
I would
taken that
agree.
one ahead. But I think Madden overall obviously was better. I mentioned NFL Street was one I was thinking. NBA Jam. Uh, that's obviously a classic one that I played quite a
Yeah,
bit on a couple different
yeah.
consoles. Um, Neither of us mentioned
The
MLB The
March
Show.
Madness game. No,
Yes,
no.
which I have still. The NCAA basketball
Yeah,
game. I still play that from time to
yeah.
time, but it did not age very well. Um,
No.
they had the ESPN had a 2K college hoops game that was pretty good as well.
Oh
And
yeah, I
then
forgot about that.
yeah, it was a pretty good game.
Yeah.
And then the Tony Hawk and SSX
Oh
Tricky
yeah, yeah.
were two games that I played quite a bit. I think I even have a Tony Hawk game on my PlayStation right now that I've dabbled in from time to time. So that's cool. That was fun. Good talk. Okay.
NFL
I think we should.
2K5 got a 9.3 out of 10 from
Yeah, it was a
IGN.
great game. That's one with
Madden
Terrell
05 got
Owens.
9.5 out of 10.
2005 was. I think 2005 might have been the peak of sports video games because that was we just or maybe it's just
MVP,
because that was
NFL 2K,
maybe this
Madden.
is we're just biased. I guess I don't know, but I mean 2005 we just talked about that was the best year I think for the college basketball games. I think that was the best year for the NFL games, baseball, MVP baseball 05. I don't know. Maybe that was just we were the right age, but I feel like they were also just better. Um, that's great. Good stuff. We're gonna shut this thing down. Anything else you want to talk about, Craig?
I don't think so. I mean, probably,
No,
but we've been talking for a while, so.
we've been talking for a while, so we should probably
How was Air?
we should probably
Was
go
Air
home.
good?
Air was wonderful. Air is a great dad movie, as they like to call it.
Oh, yeah.
Air is a lesser, kind of goofier version of like a Moneyball. Just a bunch of guys in an office talking about sports and shoes. It was great. I loved Air. It's easily going to be one of my favorite movies of the year. It's just great to see Affleck and Damon on screen together. Viola Davis is great. Jason Bateman was fun. Chris Messina, Chris Tucker, all great in the movie. Definitely recommend seeing Air. Recommend taking your kids to Mario. They're going to love it. Not you, Craig. You don't have any children, but any listeners out there, viewers out there that have children, they will love Mario. And anybody that grew up with Mario will obviously enjoy Mario. I just didn't think it really had much for the adults. Okay. I think that's
Update
it.
on your boy Tevin Smith.
What's Tevin doing?
Indiana State, Illinois State, Murray State, SIU, SIUE, SEMO. So basically all the regional schools have reached out to Tevin Smith.
Of course. Of course.
No, I don't
All
see
right,
anything
let's
else
shut
on
it down.
Twitter, so
Let's shut it down. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Those of you that are still here, we appreciate having you. We will probably be back again next week, although at some point I feel like these will stop for a while. But as long as the transfer portal season is happening, we'll probably still try to do these on a weekly basis. So, but we'll keep you updated on our lives. You should follow us on all of our social media. He's at Craig W. Choate. I'm at the Logan Lee. We're at No One Asked Us Pod. Like, share, subscribe. If you haven't already done so, we would really appreciate it, especially that like and that subscribe button. That's kind of important for us as YouTubers. So if you haven't already done so, we would appreciate you hitting that button. For Craig, I'm Logan. We will see you next week, most likely. Until then, peace and love.